Sunni Salafis.
And Mudar Zahran, the Secretary General of the Jordanian Opposition Coalition, is joining us now from London, the UK. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. What's your take on what's happened today, the resignation, the murder? Is this shocking to you?
It's a huge shock to see Mr. Hattar die in such a fashion. This is very barbaric and very troublesome for Jordan. This comes barely one day after Jordan's king has actually authorized the elections in which only the Islamists and a few others, including Hattar's own faction, the so-called secular pro-Assad people, have dominated the parliament under the king's watch. This is only a symptom of a bigger problem that Jordan has been literally sinking into chaos under bad management of the regime. We have to be clear. Hattar was pro the Hashemite regime, pro the regime. At the same time, the Islamists seem to be very pro-regime. In fact, Hattar never minded that those people take part in the ongoing elections, and he even promoted it in his articles. It's very shocking what happened to him, but the conclusion is Jordan is in trouble. There has not been a lot of coverage in the media about what's happening in Jordan right now. For the last 3 days, Jordan has been in ultimate unrest. I am afraid while this shocking and horrendous crime is causing pain for all of us, it's not going to be the last. We are very concerned about the safety and the well-being of all Jordanians, and especially the Christian minority of barely 100,000 people. We need the change of course. For the record, the king has just assigned al-Mulki, the former government, to form a new government, which is basically he has reassigned the prime minister to his job. So it's not connected at all to the horrifying crime that took place today.
Now, Mudar, our Middle East correspondent who's here in studio with us, said this can very well ignite the tensions you already raised, the very harsh sectarian tensions in Jordan that have been put under the radar. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, basically, the tension in Jordan has never been sectarian. The tension has always been ethnic. For example, Christians who are of Palestinian heritage are more aligned with Palestinians rather than Christians who are not Palestinians. What we're talking about is not necessarily ethnic unrest or sectarian unrest, because the Christians in Jordan are a very minute minority. We want them protected. We want them safe. We will do everything to keep them safe. But there's no chance of a civil war because the numbers don't add up to a civil war. On the other hand, this will ignite many similar crimes by the Islamists. The king of Jordan has bred the Islamists and harbored them the way you feed a very vicious dog to scare everyone else with. They might be simply lashing out, and we have warned for years now that unless the king is straightened out by Western forces, by allies like Israel and other countries, by moderate allies like Saudi Arabia, unless that happens, we could be all in trouble. And that's what's actually happening right now.
Mudar, do stay with us. I want to get a reaction from Mohammed Al-Qasim, who's here with us in studio. What's your take
Michal,
on this?
I think it's a little bit more complicated than this, because Nahed Hattar, who's a Jordanian Christian, he's not of a Palestinian background. That's number one. But I think the more troublesome news for the kingdom and the king and his government is that the killer actually is a Salafist who spent time in Syria, which means that the events around Jordan do in fact impact Jordan directly, and impact it in a bloody way, not just in trying to spread an ideology where Jordanians may think differently, but also that these people think that unless things go their way, they will take it upon themselves to change things. And for this caricature to be retweeted, by the way, by this writer, and for this man to assume that he has the power to make the judgment himself and kill the writer is very troublesome, because there may be copycats in the kingdom that will follow suit. We are dealing with a very critical issue here. The kingdom is also based on tribal, and the tribes are very loyal to the king. But even the tribe of this killed writer, they refuse to take in his body unless judgment is done, and done swiftly. So we have to wait and see in the next 24 hours, which is extremely important, how the reaction of his tribe and the government is going to be. But also the government has given its resignation to ease tension, not only because it was going to give it anyhow, but also to ease tension that is taking place now in the kingdom.
Indeed, and Mudar, if you heard here what Mohammed had to say.
Finally, the tribes are not loyal to the king. With all due respect to Mr. Qasim, his information are old. All he has to do is Google in Arabic the protest against the king, which have been taken part in the last 3 days in tribal areas. Jordanians are now united by one single thing: hatred for the regime. We want change through peaceful means. Unless change catches up with us, unless the Jordan's allies support us into peaceful change, we are looking at much, much deeper trouble than what we see today. In other words, the more this regime stays in power, the more we are in trouble. This has to be changed. We have been warning from it years ago, before we had a single Salafist operated in Jordan. It's either changed now or it's going to be way too late in the future, and we might end up with another ISIS in Jordan, and that's not going to be good for anyone, including Israel.
Mudar Zahran, who yourself seeked asylum in the UK because of the